on the News Channel 5 network. This is Open Line.
Hello and good evening and welcome to Open Line tonight. I'm Matthew Torres. Tonight we are talking about a topic that's really been on the news lately, which is vaping, e-cigarettes, the future of it, the health side of all this. And so there's really, as we say, two sides to a story, at least two sides. And so we've obviously heard with what the concerns are from families, health officials, and what's being done about it right now. But we don't always get to hear from someone like David Pellicane. Is that correct?
You got it. Yeah,
he is the owner of Nashville Vapor.
Mm-hmm.
And so you recently wrote an op-ed on the Tennessean in regards to this, titled "Let's Not Ban Vaping Products That Help Adults Stop Smoking Cigarettes." And of course we'll dive into this and delve into this whole topic and your reasons behind this particular headline. So if anyone does have any questions or really any comments, this is Open Line after all, 615-737+. Feel free to give us a call. We'll be here for another hour. It's a long time for this conversation.
All right, I'm excited and a little nervous.
David,
hopefully be all right.
I think he did say he was very upfront about this, being nervous on this program today. And I told him, at least from my perspective, I want to approach to wanting to hear more from your side. Why your answers are the way they are compared to what's being put out there, what people are talking about. So I know we have this one side. Next week, I know we'll continue this conversation with other medical professionals. So obviously that'll be a vastly different topic then. But tonight we are speaking to David. First off, let's talk about your history, how you got into owning the business, and how you started using e-cigs.
All right, well, I started in 2011. I'd been a smoker since the time I was a teenager, and shortly after my first daughter was born, I knew I had to quit smoking. My dad was a smoker. He died of cancer when I was 25, when he was 51 years old. So I knew that cigarettes were detrimental to my health. There was no question about that, and I wanted to make sure I could be around for my children as long as possible. So I tried a couple of different things, patches and gums, and nothing ever really worked for me. And when I'd first tried electronic cigarettes.
When was that, by the way?
That was 2011. That was probably, I guess, the spring of 2011. I stopped smoking, and within a matter of about 2 weeks, I never touched a cigarette since. So it worked for me, and it was still very new technology at that point. It was new to the market. It was so early that, if I was out on the street using an electronic cigarette at that point, there were still tons of people who'd never even seen one before and were super curious about what it was and how it worked. And I within such a short amount of time, I started to noticeably feel drastically better than I had in ages, and I saw the potential in it, and I thought, if this is able to help me, this can help other people.
Well, how did you hear about it in the first place? How did you get your hands into this product?
I think probably the first time I had tried it was actually a little bit earlier. It was probably around 2010, and they had a kiosk set up at the mall. It was pretty primitive technology at that point. It didn't work great, and it kind of seemed a little bit more of a novelty item than anything else. But by the second time that I had tried it, I'd heard a couple things online, and I wound up ordering a little starter kit, and already within 1 year the technology had gotten drastically better, and I didn't feel the need to smoke anymore. And that was huge for me because I had smoked for years.
You said you felt better. What were the differences. How stark was it, and how did you notice the changes?
Breathing. I was able to breathe in a way that I hadn't for years, and you don't realize that when you're a smoker. Your sense of smell and your sense of taste, all of these things kind of become a little bit dulled. And within a couple of weeks, I started tasting food a little bit differently and smelling things like, you know, where they say, you wake up and you smell the roses or whatever. I you know, all of my senses that are connected to my lungs, I guess, were kind of reactivated in a way that, you know, really it was pretty drastic of a difference. I really thought, wow, you know, I didn't need, you know, 100 doctors to study what was happening with me for me to know that I was feeling better.
Now, with e-cigarettes, is the goal to, obviously, with you, stop smoking cigarettes, but is it also to just stop smoking anything?
It's different for everybody. I mean, obviously for the majority of people, the main goal is going to be to preferably not smoke or vape anything. I've never tried to create some pretext for this all where this is like, okay, you know, this is something that I would encourage anybody to do. This is a product for ex-smoke or for smokers who have been struggling to quit cigarettes and have had a hard time where nothing else has worked for them before. This is about harm reduction. This isn't about eliminating, you know, 100% any risk at all. But if you're able to bring down your risk dramatically, and, you know, according to the Royal College of Physicians in England, they believe that it's, you know, at least 95% safer, not 100%, you know, perfect, but safer than smoking combustible cigarettes.
And what motivated you to then start your own business, Nashville Vapor, and how are things going now compared to then?
Well, when I started, you know, my motivation was to try to help people. You know, like I said, my father died of cancer. I know, you know, all the terrible things that can come out of a lifetime of smoking. You know, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it with our customers coming in, and you know, although there's been a lot of stuff in the media in the past couple of weeks talking about, you know, illnesses related to vaping, which, as far as all of the real studies that have been conducted can tell right now, and this is like going to the Center for Disease Control has even recently come out and acknowledged that from what they know, and they don't know everything yet, everything seems to be being traced to THC cartridges that are bought on the street. Black market, counterfeit THC cartridges. They've pretty much narrowed it down to, they don't know exactly what's happening, but everybody that's come in who's being honest at least have all admitted that they use these products. And this is a whole different thing than what electronic cigarettes are all about. You know, to use a product for nicotine, something that you're buying from a store, from a, you know, a place that has a reputation to uphold, is a whole lot different than buying, you know, fake marijuana cartridges that are bought on the street that nobody knows what's in them. Nobody knows. And that's not to knock the legal regulated cannabis industry in states where it's legal, because I'm sure, you know, there is a lot of stuff out there that's regulated and controlled by people that's just fine and wouldn't get anybody sick. But, you know, when you're buying things off the street, who knows?
What is the demographic of your customers throughout the years? Are these folks that are strictly buying to help quit smoking? What is the...
Yeah, we have our average age of our average customer at Nashville Vapor since the day we've opened up has been probably about 55 years old. We have people in their 40s, we have people in their 30s and 20s, but most of our customers are older smokers, now ex-smokers. We have, people coming into the store who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who have never been able to find anything that's helped them quit. And this was a breakthrough for a lot of these people. And, people were coming in saying, within a couple of weeks, coming back and saying, this has changed my life. I feel better than I felt in years. I've had people go and see their doctors, and their doctors within a short time tell them they can noticeably tell that their lungs are clearer than they'd been in years. Because with electronic cigarettes, there's without the combustion of the actual tobacco, which releases tons of chemicals that are not in electronic cigarettes, there's also tar, and there's no tar in electronic cigarettes. So yes, you're still getting nicotine, but from all of the scientific studies that have been conducted, nicotine is not the most detrimental thing in a cigarette. For the most part, nicotine is not that terrible for you. That's not to say that anybody should take up nicotine for the fun of it. That's not to say that it isn't addictive, because it is definitely addictive. But it's all the other things that you're going to find in a cigarette that are not nicotine, which are the things that kill people. And if there's a way for people to, again, this is about harm reduction. If there's a way for people to be able to maintain their nicotine intake without getting all the rest of the garbage that you get from combustible cigarettes, as far as I'm concerned, it's a public health win. Now, there's definitely concerns. There's definitely things that people have a right to be concerned about, especially, a lot of people talk about the concern over, the teenage vaping epidemic. I'm a parent. I have 2 kids.
Before you elaborate, I'd love to talk more about that.
Sure.
But I do want to remind folks, if you do have any questions or comments, 615-737+. We'll actually go to break in just a moment. So if anyone wants to be a part of this conversation, make sure to give us a call. We'll have much more on this topic in a few minutes.